Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories of sacrifice in world history. It's a story about a spiritual leader, a powerful, unbending empire, and a single decision that would echo for centuries. So let's get into it.
Now, here's the thing. We're not going to start this story at the beginning. We're actually starting at its dramatic, heart-stopping end. Because if you can understand this one moment, you'll understand why this story is so unique.
I want you to picture a crowded public square in Delhi, right in the heart of the mighty Mughal Empire. It's November 1675, and the 9th Sikh Guru, Tegh Bahadur, is about to be publicly executed on the orders of the Emperor Aurangzeb. This very spot is now marked by the Gurdwara Ganj Sahib.
But what makes this moment completely unheard of is the reason why it's all happening. See, Guru Tegh Bahadur wasn't martyred for his own faith. He chose this path to defend the religious freedom of a totally different community, the Kashmiri Pundits, who were being forced to convert to Islam.
This was, and honestly still is, just unprecedented. It brings up this really powerful question that gets right to the core of his story. To figure out why he made such an extraordinary choice, we need to rewind and take a look at the world he was up against.
The stage for this showdown was really set by the times. This wasn't just a conflict between two men, It was a massive clash of two completely different worldviews. So you've got the late 17th century, a time of major upheaval. The Mughal emperor, Aurangzeb, is at the absolute peak of his power, ruling a massive empire with an iron fist. And his rule was really defined by a hard swing towards religious orthodoxy. Aurangzeb's big idea for unity was a policy he called Ek Mazhab, which literally means one religion. His goal was to force Islamic law on his entire empire. And this wasn't some gentle suggestion. It often meant coercion, huge taxes on non-Muslims, and forced conversions. It created this climate of widespread fear. The Kashmiri Pundits, a really respected community of Hindu Brahmins, were targeted especially hard. They were facing this impossible choice: lose their faith, their culture, their entire way of life. So, in desperation, a delegation of about 500 Pundits went looking for help from the one person they thought could possibly stand up to the empire.
So who was this person they turned to? Who exactly was Guru Tegh Bahadur, and what principles guided him to take such a radical and frankly dangerous stand?
Well, his actions were totally rooted in about 2 centuries of Sikh teachings, going all the way back to the founder, Guru Nanak. From the very beginning, Sikhism challenged inequality with really radical ideas like the langar, a community kitchen where a king and a commoner would sit and eat together as equals. The holy book, the Adi Granth, even included writings from saints of different faiths. And crucially, there was this idea of Miri Piri, the balance of spiritual and worldly power. It basically meant that faith wasn't separate from the fight for justice in the real world.
And his personal philosophy, it's captured perfectly in his own words, in a verse from the Sikh scriptures. Bhai kahu ko date nehi, nehi bhai manate an. It translates to, fear no one and frighten no one. This was the core belief he was about to carry into a head-on collision with the most powerful man in the land.
So you have these principles of fearlessness and justice. Now, they were about to be put to the ultimate test, leading to the sacrifice that would define everything. When the desperate pundits showed up at the Guru's court, he listened to their story. His 9-year-old son, Gobind Rai, saw his father looking deeply concerned and asked what was wrong. The Guru explained the whole situation, and his son's response was just immediate and so profound. Who is greater than you to defend them? Spurred on by this, the Guru accepted the challenge. He sent a message straight to Aurangzeb. If you can convert me, all the Hindus will follow you without a fight.
Aurangzeb took the bait. The Guru and his 3 loyal companions were immediately arrested and dragged to Delhi. Now, to break his spirit, the emperor forced him to watch as his companions were brutally executed right in front of him. One was sawn in half, another burned alive, the third boiled to death. It's just horrific. But the Guru, he remained unshaken. He refused to convert. He refused to perform a miracle to save his own life. And so the final order was given. But the story doesn't end with his death. Not even close. In fact, his death sparks these incredible acts of courage. As the execution happened, a sudden, fierce dust storm just blanketed Delhi. In the chaos, a devoted Sikh from a so-called low caste, Bhai Jeta, risked absolutely everything. He grabbed the Guru's severed head and began a dangerous 315-kilometer journey back home to Anandpur Sahib.
At the exact same time, another Sikh, a wealthy trader named Laki Shah Vanjara, used the storm for cover. He found the Guru's headless body, hid it in his cart, and snuck it back to his home. Now, to give the Guru a proper cremation without alerting the authorities, he made an unbelievable sacrifice. He set his entire house on fire to serve as a secret funeral pyre. The site is now Gurdwara Rakabganj.
When Bhai Dayala finally made it back to Anandpur Sahib, the Guru's head was received by his son, Gobind Rai. But there wasn't this big outburst of grief. Instead, Gobind Rai embraced Bhai Dayala and called him the Guru's own son, an act that just smashed caste barriers. He cremated his father's head with full honors, turning a moment of unimaginable loss into one of steely resolve that would literally change the course of history.
This single act of martyrdom created a legacy that still echoes today, shaping not just one community, but our very idea of what human rights are. Okay, fast forward just 24 years. It's 1699, and the Guru's son, now known as Guru Gobind Singh, galvanizes the entire community. In direct response to his father's martyrdom, he creates the Khalsa, a disciplined order of saint soldiers sworn to defend the oppressed and fight for justice for everyone. You see, the father's sacrifice became the seed for the son's creation.
Now, over time, his legacy has been understood in two really powerful ways. He's often called Hind di Shadar, or the protector of Hindus, which recognizes the specific event that happened. But a lot of historical texts use a much broader term, Shrisht ki Chidor, the protector of all creation. This view sees his act as not just for one group, but as a universal defense of human conscience itself.
And really, that's the bottom line. Guru Tegh Bahadur's martyrdom wasn't just about protecting a certain set of beliefs. It established this timeless, universal principle that the freedom to believe or not believe is a fundamental human right. It's non-negotiable. And no emperor, no state, no power on earth has the right to take it away.
And that leaves us with a pretty big thought to chew on. More than 300 years later, in a world where we still see religious persecution and intolerance all the time, the Guru's sacrifice forces us to ask a really tough question. What does it truly mean to stand up for someone else's freedom, especially when their beliefs aren't our own? It's a question that's just as urgent today as it was in that bloody square in Delhi back in 1675.